All right. Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to another weekly update where I, Christopher Lind, am your host and hopefully doing a good job of keeping you 10 steps ahead of what is happening at the intersection of business, technology, and the human experience. Thanks, everybody, for watching, listening. Last week in particular, got a bunch of messages. I'll actually be including some of that in this week's update, just as one of my takeaways. And just thanks again for all of the community that follows this. And I'm glad to hear you're getting value from it. Continue with the feedback as well. I love continuing to improve that. Do all the social things. If you're not subscribed, do that. I did hit 5,000 YouTube subscribers this week, which was pretty exciting. Didn't think that was ever going to happen. So that's been cool. But yeah, just continue, like, subscribe, follow, share. I don't need to tell you this stuff. Your social media, you're consuming it. But please do that. I appreciate it tremendously. I've got 4 updates this week. The first 2 are technical related. One is actually me going into a little bit of a deeper dive on one of the messages I got this week. And then the 4th is actually a guide. So you stick around till the end or fast forward till the end if you really want to. But I'm actually going to share how to use AI to be more human, which I think can be extremely helpful for folks who maybe have AI, they're having to do a bunch of stuff, but is it actually making and enriching the human experience, or is it making it worse? Because if it's making it worse, to me, that's a problem. And my goal is to help people use AI to enrich the human experience, to make us better versions of ourselves, not more robotic, which is what I'm seeing a lot of. So with that, let's get into it. I've got 4 this week. So the first one has to do with, there were some big updates to image generation capability over the past week or so. So if all of a sudden you feel like every image you've seen on the internet, or all of a sudden you're like, whoa, did culture change overnight? It kind of did. And get ready for this, because this is very much going to become the norm in an AI world where so much content, so much media is AI generated or AI enhanced. When the models make a big update, prepare for a massive cultural shift. So I want to run down a couple of the big ones and just give you a heads up on how some of these things are, also to keep you on top of it so your attention is being mindful of this, because there are some things that based on these new updates are going to fool you, but then also help you give some context for like, why did it feel like the whole world changed in the last week? And it's largely due to this. So couple things. First of all, the major models did some, so Gemini, OpenAI, there's some other ones that also did this, made some pretty significant changes to image gen in 2 ways. One, the ability for them to make realistic photos is profoundly improved. I mean, I am not kidding you. So I use AI to generate images and do a lot of different things with them. And the first time I did it, I hadn't even been following. It was a bit of a crazy week. I hadn't been following it. And I asked it to create an image for me. And it shot me back a photorealistic image that I went, not what I was going for, but holy crap, when did this happen? Which is actually what led me to go do a little more digging. And Gemini had the same thing. Like by default, I asked it to do something and like poof. I'm like, good grief, that looks like I took that with my iPhone. As you can imagine, that one makes me a little bit uncomfortable as we step and continue stepping into the world. I have said many times over, we are going to move into the age of distrust, where we have to have heightened senses. So when I say I want to make you aware of this, so you can be more conscious. If you see something, even if it looks real, just be mindful. There's a good chance it might not be, because it is ridiculously easy to make a realistic image, not one where you can quickly look at it and go, oh, they have 6 fingers, or, oh, that, their leg merged into the table, or things like legit, really solid photoreal. And this is now massively widespread in terms of anybody can use it, free users, anybody with access. And the realistic ones, you really can't tell a difference by model. So really, whether you're an OpenAI, whether you're a Gemini, whatever, you can do this very easily. So be mindful, be really careful about this. Now, another thing, ByteDance actually came out with one. They're calling it Infinite U. It is literally an application designed to take a single image of you and then allow you to create, I hate the word deepfakes because it always comes across as nefarious, but basically versions of you that are doing, like in whatever makes sense. Like you want to be on top of a mountain. You want to be, I saw one that drew my attention this week was somebody I know that is not ever going to be invited to be on Joe Rogan, whether you like or don't like the Joe Rogan experience. You've got to have a pretty big name to be invited to that. And this person, I was like, there is no way they were on the Joe Rogan experience. And I could tell from the image. Now, the nice thing with ByteDance's Infinite, you can still pretty much tell that it was AI generated. You're like, yeah, that's them, but I can tell that's not a real picture. But it's real enough that if you're just glancing really quick, and that's exactly what happened. I went, what? No way they were on Joe Rogan. And then I took a closer look at the picture. I'm like, oh yeah, that's AI generated. But this is another one now where, AI headshots haven't been all that new. And those to me are in a different category because you're doing it for the purpose of a headshot. This Infinite You is designed to be like, you can literally tell it, I want to be in New York sitting on this, taking a picture in front of Times Square, and it'll make a fairly realistic version of it. I have no doubts that the premium version and very quickly we're going to get to a point where you're not even really going to be able to tell if somebody's vacation photos actually even happened, which before anybody goes, this is the end of the world. It's not. People have been faking this crap for a long time. I actually know a fair amount of notable influencers that all of their content is completely bogus. It's not real. They have rental houses. They rent cars where they go do photo shoots. They do all this stuff. Like nothing you see is actually, they go on vacations that are just off into a field. It's not real. Okay. So this isn't new. People have been trying to fake and create imaginary versions of the world and the existence they have that don't exist for a long time. It's just now anybody and everybody can do it. You don't need a video effects team and a camera crew to make it look like you went on a trip to Dubai and saw the world's largest aquarium before you went up to the the Khalifi, the tallest building in the world, the Thai. I don't know. I've watched a million videos, but anyway, that's not the point. Here I'm rambling. My point is, this is going to become easier and easier and easier. And are there really great use cases for it? I think sure. I mean, I think for myself, how hard it can be for me to go get headshots regularly. And, for a while, like I don't look that much different, but I hate when you see somebody's headshot and you're like, oh, that's what they look like. And then you meet them and you're like, they don't look anything like that. So can something like this, but you need a professional headshot for LinkedIn or something? Sure, there's really good uses for it. If you're doing it intentionally for, not to mislead, I think it can be fun and helpful, and there are purposes. So I don't want to totally dog on it, but I want to make you aware of this all recently hit in the last week. And so you might have suddenly gone, just have your awareness up, at least on the realistic stuff. Just be aware of it. What is the purpose of the person sharing it? Are there other contextual triggers that would make you go, if there's a rage bait post with a realistic image, at least ask yourself, did that image actually occur, or was it AI generated to help push the emotion associated with this post? You're going to have to start using other contextual clues. Is this person somebody that you have reason to believe is trying to sell you something or convince you of something? You just start to use more of those contextual cues when you see things. Ask questions. Think before you react. Okay, so that's on the one realistic side. And I'm telling you, go play around with it. Now, Gemini is a little unique. You can only get square images. OpenAI, you can do landscape. You can do, or one by one. All sorts of stuff. So a little bit different. Now, the other one that's actually kind of entertaining, that this again was one where I went, okay, this is wildly different than before, was the animation style looks very much Ghibli, which, and I think I'm pronouncing that right. But if all of a sudden you were like, did anime take the world by storm in the last week? It kind of did. There's a Japanese studio called Ghibli. I think I'm pronouncing that right. They are known for this kind of anime Japanese art style. And OpenAI in particular adopted that in its animated AI artwork. And so you might have seen memes all over the place of this anime style stuff of like Sam Altman, there's a viral post about that, or these other things where like, people are taking their real images and now getting a Ghibli version of it. And you might just be going, what just happened? That's what happened. OpenAI created it. Now, Gemini is different. Their animated style looks like a LSD version of Pixar. So if all of a sudden you start seeing Pixar versions of stuff everywhere and you're like, whoa, where did this come? Chances are the person's using Gemini. If it's a square picture, it's probably somebody with Gemini who's either doing realistic photos or, an animation version. So again, these are some of the other things. Now, one that I think is super helpful is specifically with OpenAI, and some of the other ones have gotten radically better at this, much, much, much better at text. For a long time, text has always been this like, what on earth is that? Like, how did anybody think that was real? And they've largely done away with that and cleaned it up. Text is solid. You don't get the weird stuff that you used to do. And it's pretty cool. I've been experimenting with it for different reasons. If you follow my YouTube or things like that, you might see me experimenting more with AI generated thumbnails, where before it was a mix of me doing things. Now I'm spending more time deeply doing prompt engineering to try and get it to create the artwork that I want, rather than doing a mix of kind of getting 40% there and then having to do a lot of post-production work, which is awesome for me because I'm the only one doing this. I don't get paid to do any of this. It's a ton of work. And so AI is tremendously helpful in that. So we'll see. I'm playing around with it. But again, if you feel like things changed overnight, the AI image generation capabilities got a radical update. And so be prepared for that. You might see culture change on a dime because OpenAI releases something and then all the other models respond, or vice versa. So anyway, that's number one, making you aware, giving you some context to it. And then again, just keep your eyes out for some of this stuff. If somebody suddenly shows up in a place that doesn't seem real and the picture looks just a little bit off, probably is not real. Okay, next. This one came up. It's not completely new, but a friend of mine sent it to me and, it was kind of like, hey, what do you think? Now Bill Gates was in an interview and he made a bold statement that in the next 10 years, AI is going to replace doctors, teachers, and basically humans won't be needed for basically most stuff. AI will be able to do pretty much everything. Which, when I get to my next point, I'm going to talk about why we don't need more of this. We don't need more of the hype around AI can do everything people can do. AI is going to be able to do any job that any person can do. There's not going to be a need for people. It really scares people a lot. And it's foolishness, to be completely honest. I get where Bill Gates is coming from. He's been saying this since 2017. So this isn't new either. He came out with the latest update on it. But he's been saying for a long time, and for good reason. The man is, like him or hate him, he's a brilliant guy. He understands technology. He's very much someone I would love someday to just have a long afternoon with and talk about things with, because I think he sees things in a way that many people just don't. But what I don't think he always recognizes, and this was my frustration with this, is when you sit in the Crystal Palace for too long, or when you have this kind of thinking and you don't surround yourself by people who don't have that same kind of thinking or don't have that same, you begin to lose touch with reality. And so as I read the interview and read more about this, I went, I don't think he's technically wrong that in the next 10 years we will, I don't think it's going to take 10 years, to be honest with you. That's where I'd probably even be more aggressive with him, that in less than 10 years, AI will be able to do much of what humans are doing today. I agree with that, which that can be scary. And I understand when people hear that, sometimes they go, that makes me really uncomfortable. And I understand why. And in some ways, I would say it should, because we are going to need to adapt and change and shift. However, here's the part that I hope brings some peace and calm to folks that I don't know if Bill would agree with me or not. And this is where I'd love to have a long coffee chat and really press him on this. I think Bill has been disconnected from the work for too long. And he forgets how work actually gets done and the people that are involved with this. And I think, quite frankly, because in the interview, you basically said, like, you'll be able to go do all this and not even have to interact with a person. I would even challenge this idea of, let's say hypothetically that's true. Would you want that as your only option? If you could go to the doctor and the only option for you was an AI robot that checked you in, you got ushered into the back, some machine took a bunch of vitals and then spit out your results and then sent you home. Maybe there'd be times that would be convenient, but would you really want that to be all that was available to you? If you got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, would you want to just be treated like a number? Even something simple, going to get your hair cut. Would you really just want to go and have a robot? I mean, mine would be easy, but even for me, like as simple as this is, I can't say that I would just want some machine coldly checking me through a line and then shaving my head and then automating the deduction out of my checking account and everything just becomes a transaction. And I think that gets missed. So first of all, I think we miss the value we get out of human experience. And so do I think we're going to see augmentation to it? Yes. Do I think we're going to see speedy checkout lanes for like a lot of stuff that before we just didn't even have the option? Like you might have been able to do it at the grocery store. Now you might be able to do it at the hospital, which, I mean, who wouldn't go, hey, look, I just brought my kid to the ER. I just need to make sure they don't have pneumonia. In and out, you're fine. You got your bill of health and a prescription for antibiotics and what, I mean, yeah, that might be nice. But if you're going through a serious thing, do you really want to just be like treated like a machine in and out, quick? And I can tell you, anybody who goes, yes, I think everybody will. I'll tell you right now, the data says otherwise. And I know because I've worked with big retail firms who thought we're going to move to the automation lane. All people want is audit. We're just going to keep improving automated checkouts. And guess what? It bumped up against human experience. And they discovered certain customers came to the store for the experience, for the chance. It was a social experience for them to engage with their customer service agents, to sit in line with people, to engage with the person checking them out. They realized that if they just stripped out all of the human experience and it was nothing but robotic, people didn't like it. They didn't want it. As much as we say, I just want to get in and get out, we don't. And when it becomes shallow and hollow, we suddenly start to feel like something's missing. And we suddenly start, and I think we're going to go through this. I think we're going to see lots of companies, and this is part of the work I'm doing, is to try and advise companies, don't make this mistake. So if you're a business leader listening to this, I'm telling you right now, do not make the mistake of over-indexing on creating a shallow, hollow, transactional experience for your customers or your employees because you think that's what they want. Even if they tell you that's what they want, that's not what they want. They might want the option of it. They might want the flexibility to choose that for certain things. And then sometimes that's not what they want. And they want to know that you're going to be there to actually support them and create an experience around it. Because, and don't believe me, go try it. And I'm promising you, you are going to come back to me and go, shoot, Christopher, you were right. And I've worked with enough companies who have made this mistake already to tell you confidently, Bill Gates is wrong. Bill Gates, even if we get to a point 7, 8, 10 years from now where AI and robots could literally do everything a human could do, we're not going to want it. Companies that go for it, people aren't going to buy it. They're going to be, it's going to create a new market for people who understand what people really want, what they really need. And I think if you're a company right now, you have a really unique opportunity right now to deeply understand what that is, deeply understand the work, and actually create a different kind of customer and an employee experience. And that's the other thing. Some of these companies that are like, great, we're just going to have bots do everything. They're destroying the employee experience, failing to recognize employee experience directly translates to customer experience. If you treat your employees like garbage, like they're a transaction, like they are a number, that's how your customers are going to feel. And I've done more than enough work to say that. And I'll sit at a table with a sign that says, change my mind. You won't, because I've seen the empirical data. I've been involved in things that show that this is just reality. And you can try and defy it all you want. You're going to get burned. You might make some short-term gains. You might go, haha, Christopher, we were able to do it. And then it's going to come back to bite you. And I will tell you right now, you are going to find it is going to cost you exponentially more in the long term to make this mistake. So for Bill Gates, in 10 years, might robots be able to do everything? Maybe. And I know I talk to people who are in trades and things like that, and they're like, no, it's never going to happen. And I'm like, you'd be surprised what humanoid robots are going to do. And do I think even tradespeople are going to have AI robots helping them get stuff and automate this and help them lift heavy loads? Like, good grief, if you're a contractor, wouldn't it be great if you just had like a little robot that came with you and held up drywall? Right? Like, and nobody on your team goes, you know what I love being? The drywall holder person. Like, that's my favorite job. So it's not inherently bad, but it is going to disrupt things. So my encouragement to you, if you're a employee or if you're somebody who hears this and freaks out, use this time now to figure out what are the things people really care about. What are the things that matter? How do I become more human? Because people are going to crave that. And yes, I think we are going to go through a time where we forget that, and it's going to help reveal how important that is. But to business leaders, I'm telling you, even if you could get AI to do everything that you think your company does, it won't. And I will also tell you right now, there is so much stuff people do not understand. I had a conversation this week with somebody where we were just talking about trying to schedule meetings and how, administrative people have been cast out, and it's like, oh, we can use Calendly. We can use this. We don't need people to do that work anymore. And then you start to realize how much work isn't automatable in this stuff, because it has to do with working with people, coordinating with people, connecting the dots between things, contextualizing, ooh, there's this factor I need to be We don't think about this stuff. And people like Bill Gates have been so disconnected from it for so long, they forget. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of peace of mind. All right. Let me transition to a more serious one, tying back to this human experience, and also I really want to speak empathetically into this while also preserving the identity of the individual who reached out. And so if this is you listening to this, you know who you are. We have had several exchanges since, and this section, and actually the next one is committed to our dialogue. Now, first of all, just so you know, if you reach out to me, I really do try and respond to everybody who reaches out. If I don't, I apologize in advance. I really do try and stay connected with my community and my audience. It may not always be as detailed as this next one I'm going to get into, but I really do appreciate it. And if I have not responded to you or you feel like I've blown you off, I promise it's not intentional. Sometimes things slip through the cracks. Sometimes something gets marked as read that I didn't mean to read or didn't actually get a chance to see. Sometimes LinkedIn just geeks out and messages don't show up even though they're unread. So anyway, apologies in advance. But this week in particular, I got a very, very long email from someone who watched last week's video on the Gen Z NEET category and some of the things people are saying about these 4 million Gen Zers in the United States who are not in education, not in employment, and not in training. They're kind of this like, I just don't even know what to do. And so one of these people watched my video and they reached out with a very, very long email that was in some ways almost just kind of a manifesto. And it hit me. It hit me really hard because when I created that, I really was trying to push leaders to say, we can't just ignore this next generation and go, well, I had to figure it out. You got to figure it out. We need to commit to helping them, because it is more unsettling than I think it has been in a very long time. And so I want to share, because I took the time and read through what this individual sent to me, and I broke down some of the biggest things that I've heard. And what was interesting is, as I really broke down what they shared, I think there's some themes that will resonate with everybody. But I want to draw attention to this because I continue to find people, and this individual, if you're listening, you're not alone. And it's not just Gen Zers who are feeling this way. I continue to come across people who are struggling with the very struggles this individual is struggling with. And it's hard because that doesn't trend on social media, and we're supposed to all be fine. And a lot of people are complete jerks and go, well, my life sucked, so yours should suck too, and I don't feel bad for you. Or I'm so concerned about my life that I don't have time to think about you. And I wanted to use this section to just push us to stop a little and share a little bit of what came through to me that made me pause and made me go, hey, like I think I probably can't lean in and fix all this individual's issues or challenges, but I can take the time to listen. I can take the time to understand. I can take the time to use my platform to be a voice for the unheard and to try and speak into this and offer some assistance of whatever it can be. So I want to talk about the 6 things that came out in this, so that we can start to be more empathetic, because I think sometimes, especially in this AI age, we're moving so fast. We're just running from one thing to the next and packing more in and trying to do all this stuff. We lose sight of not only ourselves, but we don't have time to think about anybody else. And I think we need to think more about other people. So one of the things that came from this individual was just this deep, profound sense of feeling completely alienated and neglected. And not just by the systems. There was mention of how the systems are broken. And I agree. I look around at how broken the systems are. And that's really hard, I think, for a lot of people, where they go, this is just messed up. And I talk about it a lot here, where companies, governments, all this stuff, it's messy. But then on top of it, and what makes it feel so much worse is oftentimes the people in power, they don't really seem to care. It's like they know it's bad. They'll acknowledge it's broken, and then they just keep on doing. And I understand where that temptation comes from. It is exhausting to cut against the grain and feel like you're not making a difference. But as I read this individual's letter to me, I went, we got to keep fighting. We got to keep pushing. We've got to keep trying to change things for the better, because when we just allow it, when we turn a blind eye to it, when we engage and swim with the current, we literally are sending a message to everyone around us and all the future generations. This is just how it is. So suck it up and deal with it. And that's a very isolating and alienating feeling, especially if you're younger and you go, I didn't even get to build this. I didn't even get to participate in making this, and now I'm stuck with it. What a terrible, terrible place to be. And I know that pain, and I'm not a Gen Z, or I'm technically a millennial, but I know this pain, and I think we all do. And so I want to encourage us to go, hey, let's do better. Like, let's not be this. The other thing that came out of this was some very grounded fear of the future. And I just talked about these deep fake images and the ability to create a whole false world of highlight reel of these experiences you've had, these things you've done that don't even exist. I talked about the fact that, you got people like Bill Gates up here going, oh, in 10 years, we don't even need people. These robots are going to do everything. And there's no yeah, but I still exist. So what happens? And if you're new in your career and you don't have the contextual experience, if you don't have all the big social network and, some of the experiences that other people do, that is a terrifying future to say, okay, so you're telling me everything I do doesn't matter. And my message to anybody who sees that, feels that fear, one, I want to acknowledge the fear is real. I get it. I experience much of the same fear at times where I go, this is scary. Where we are is scary. And I don't think it's helpful when we just downplay it and go, it's not scary. We'll just adapt. We'll just blah, blah, blah. Like, we'll move on. Yeah, that might be true, but that doesn't mean that it won't be really painful, or that there won't be a lot of collateral damage, or that it isn't extremely uncomfortable where we're going. And so then imagine how uncomfortable that is if you're at the bottom of the food chain looking out going, this is what I have to adopt. And so whether you're at the bottom of the food chain or whether you're at the top, we need to slow down and acknowledge how scary the future is. And we need to stop saying things like, well, in 10 years, there's going to be nothing left for people. Yes, there will. There will be something for people. And we need to do the time, put in the time and take the effort to help figure out what that looks like and help future generations prepare for what that looks like. The other thing that came through in this was this true recognition, this desire to go, I have potential. I know I do. I know I'm capable of things. I don't know where to put it. I don't know what to do with it. I feel trapped, ignored, written off. First of all, one, if you're older and you're looking down on people who are younger, this young generation, this next group, they have so much inherent value and brilliance and innovation and new ideas. And we need to not look at that and go, well, that's stupid. We do things the way we do. We need to stop because we are crushing the next generation of people who already feel completely helpless in this crazy, insane world. They have no context or much less context to figure out how to navigate it. And then on top of it, we just go, well, and you've got nothing to add to the mix anyway. That is terrible. That is terrible. Don't do that. And I know not everybody subscribes to my worldview, but I was reading a passage last night about where Jesus' disciples, are like, well, hey, they're like talking, and he invites the children up and he's like, be like this. Be like this generation. He had a true appreciation for youth and the faith and the excitement and the sincerity that they bring. We all should too. You never get too old to look back and go, yeah, well, that stupid generation. And I hear this a lot. I hear it a lot, and I've seen it a lot in my career, and it needs to stop, especially right now. I mean, it should just be par for the course. We should just not be doing it, period. But right now, it's having an even heavier impact than it might when things are smooth and there's kind of a clear pathway. Because the American dream of which I'll talk about next, go off to college, do this thing, you'll get a great job, you'll pay your bills, you'll have a family, it'll all be wonderful. That story's not true. It's not working out that way for a lot of people. And a lot of people feel stuck. And so the last thing they need is to be dogged on because, well, you're young, you don't know anything, you've got nothing to add. Yes, they do, actually. They've got a lot to add. And when I've actually leaned into this, some of these younger folks offer me some of the greatest insights and ideas and innovations that I would have completely otherwise overlooked. And so if you're somebody who thinks they've got nothing to offer me, you're wrong. I'll just tell you that right now. You are wrong and you are missing out, and it will catch up with you. It will. The other one is there was a real lack of trust in the institutions. And you know what? There's really good reasons not to trust them right now. And I get it. I get why people are very untrusting of academic institutions. They've been promised, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to go here and you'll have a wonderful life. And people have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars going there and they don't have a wonderful life. They just got a boatload of student loan debt and no job prospects and keep being told, oh, you don't have enough experience. Oh, you don't have any of these things. They're being told companies care, invest your life, invest everything you have into them and they'll take care of you. And they're getting riffed left and right. They're getting rejected. They're not even having people take the time to call them back or send them an automated email when they're applying for a job. Come on. Why would you trust a system that treats you like that? We've got governments that say they're here for our best interest. They're designed to protect their people. They're designed to defend and make sure people are taken care of, who are showing no regard for people, showing no regard for anything but the government's best interests. And don't send me the messages, oh, you're anti-American. That's not what I'm saying. I'm seeing this all around the globe. I understand these people are not wrong. Don't gaslight people into saying that's ridiculous. The government has your best interest in mind. No, it does not. No, it does not. Maybe on its best day, it has the collective best interest of the group in mind, assuming it serves its best interest. But the second it doesn't, the second you're an individual, the second you're a group that isn't in complete alignment with what the institution wants, you're not valued anymore. And so I understand that lack of trust. I think to the people who may be feeling this, don't completely give up hope. And part of the reason I spent so much time going back with this individual was I went, hey, look, this individual reached out to me, and I get why they don't trust leaders. They don't trust voices. They don't trust institutions. I can't fix all that, but maybe me taking the time to genuinely listen, respond, and engage with this individual may give hope that there are still some who do care, who want to see it different, who want to do better. And I want to encourage those of you who are in these positions, those of you who have these unique opportunities where somebody reaches out and they're scared, whether they're a Gen Zer or anybody, they're scared, they're nervous, they're not sure what to do. If you're in a position where you have some stability, or even if you don't, gosh, I don't have all the stability. I don't have it all figured out, but I have enough to at least tell somebody like, hey, it's okay. I see you. I hear you. I understand what you're going through. It sucks. Based on my experience, here's some things you might want to be thinking about. You know, the other thing that came through was people are just looking for something more. This individual just wanted to believe in something true, something moral, something deeper than just the shallow veneer of fake Instagram pictures on the internet, American dreams that don't ever come to be, some sort of commercialized belief that if you just have enough stuff, then you'll be happy. If you just make enough money, you'll finally land. They know it's not real, and they don't believe it. And yes, of course, if somebody asks me that, I am going to share what gives me some of the grounding that helps me navigate some of this stuff. Is it my expectation that so therefore I think that, so I'm going to pound it into you? No. Do I really hope you find the same joy and peace that I do? Yes. But this also goes back to what I said before with these companies that are like, oh, well, robots can do everything people need. We'll just replace everybody with robots. It's going to backfire because of stories like this individuals who go, I just want something more than that. I don't just want to go to the store and have a robot put everything in my cart for me and then load it into the back of my car while I sit and scroll Instagram and look at people's deep fake images of them on fake vacations, pretending to have fake children and all. Like, I don't want that. I want something deeper than that. And yeah, so do I. So does everybody. There's lots of people who've numbed themselves to the fact that they don't want it because they're convinced it doesn't exist. And maybe if they just numb themselves enough, it'll go away. But it's there and it's not going anywhere. And the more we try and ignore it, the deeper and more profound it's going to get. And so if you're struggling with that, I get it. There are certain ones that I don't struggle with, and it has to do with the peace and joy I found through being a Christian. But I understand that desire, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that, oh, well, I have this and it's fixed all my problems. Nope. I still can relate to every single thing this person shared with me. And I went, yeah, that's me too. That's me too. I feel this. I understand. And so even if you can just be somebody who can sit in the ashes, you don't have to go back to everybody and go, okay, here's the 5 things you can do to fix it. First of all, one, who do you think you are that you know the 5 things that are going to fix their life for them? You don't. Sometimes you just need to sit with them and go, yeah, it really sucks, doesn't it? Doesn't it suck? It really sucks right now. I hate it. I wish it wasn't this way. The last one was this individual made it so clear. And I see this all the time. And this is where it just offends me when people are like, oh, these spoiled, whether it's Gen Z, this spoiled next generation, this spoiled people over here wanting a handout, this spoiled this and that. I had to work for mine. They don't seem to want to. That is not the case. That is a gross misrepresentation of the vast majority of people I encounter who are really struggling. They all desperately don't want a handout. They want to work for it. They want to feel like there's value and purpose and that they're contributing to something, that they're not just being given a check and go, here, you poor little person, like, there you go survive. That's why the whole idea of like, oh, UBI, let's just give everybody stuff so they don't have to do things. Most people don't want it. They actually want to work and contribute and feel like the effort they're putting in matters. They don't just want to be handed a check so they can exist. And so we need to help people discover How do you help them do that? And it's one of the things I've always loved about leading teams. It's one of the things I miss most about doing things on my own. While I get the chance to do it in an advisory capacity, it's very different. But we need to help people go, yeah, I'm going to help you figure out how to use what you feel is trapped inside you. And it doesn't look like slapping you into a job description and go, there. Now, tell AI to do all this stuff and watch the AI and make sure it's doing it. Good grief. You want to talk about a meaningless existence? Don't do that kind of crap. We need to help people discover what is it that they're capable of. What does that look like in an AI world? Yeah, maybe some of the stuff that mattered 5 years ago or 2 years ago, or maybe it won't matter anymore, but underneath it, something does. There is something that will matter, that will be important, that people will be able to use in whatever AI future sits ahead. And we need to do something to help people with that. And that's, yes, Gen Zers. Yes, lots of people I encounter. And that's where let's just have the robots do all this. That's a big mistake. That's a big mistake. And I will be talking a lot more about that in future episodes about why that will come back to bite us big time. So I'm going to wrap with that and transition to my last one. But to the individual who wrote this to me, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to send what might have felt like just a rambling madness of, I don't know how many pages. It was a lot of pages. But I saw it and I appreciated it and I heard you. And I hope that I've represented you well in those 6 points that you feel heard. And I hope that other people who listen to this go, that makes me feel heard. It makes me feel like I'm not alone. And I hope me representing it in some way, for what little it matters, just a random guy on the internet talking about it. I hope it at least inspires you that there are people that do care, who see this, who want to do something, and who are committed to it. And I'm not alone. That's the thing. I'm not going to sit here and go, and I'm the only one who does. You know, I talk to people all the time who really want to contribute and help. And many of them, honestly, there's a lot of senior leaders I know who go, I don't know what to do, Christopher. I can't tell you how many people I coach and counsel who go, I know the system I'm in is broken. I know our job descriptions are dysfunctional. I know all this. Christopher, help. How? I hate that I do this. I hate that we just ghost thousands of job applicants every week. How do I fix it? And I'm trying to help. But I just want to encourage you to know that it's not that everybody who's older or further along just doesn't care. Yes, there's examples. Of course there is. Just like there's examples of freeloaders who are in the young generation. You're always going to be able to find the exception to the rule. But I know that's not the vast majority. And I wanted to focus on that in this section to, one, make sure you feel heard, individual, but also that hopefully it inspires and encourages others to feel heard and to do something about it and to keep fighting to do better, because we can do better. All right. Now, the last one actually is related to this, because I actually want to talk about how AI helped me be more human through this interaction. Because I think a lot of times what bothers me is I see people talk about, AI, and we see all this stuff of like, oh, we can create fake images and we can automate workflows and we can do all this stuff. And like AI is ruining the human experience. And it absolutely can. It's like plutonium, depleted plutonium. I mean, it's dangerous, but it also can be used in a really healthy way. And maybe plutonium is not a good example because there's always nuclear waste, but maybe in this world, there always will be. But anyway, my point is, I want to talk through the process I used to actually use AI to help me have a more human experience with this individual. And I'm going to talk vulnerably about it so you can see that you actually can use AI not to shortcut things, not to cut over the messiness of human experience, but to enrich it, to make it more meaningful, to connect on a better level. So I'm just going to walk you through this as quickly as I can and just hopefully give you a framework that you can maybe go, wow, what a really creative way to use AI differently. And so what happened was this individual sent me a very, very long, and I don't even think they would argue with this. So if you're hearing this, hopefully you're not offended by this. It was a messy note. It was very hard. And by the way, okay, lest it just be on them. Of course, when I, as a creator, get a message from somebody that's very long and messy, my defenses immediately fly up, because immediately I'm like, oh, great. Here's another person coming to tell me why I'm the worst person on the planet and I'm ruining the world and everything I say is stupid. And so of course my defenses go up. So almost immediately I'm like, preparing for battle, putting on the armor, going, all right, like I'm going to look at this, but like I need to make sure I'm emotionally and mentally prepared for this thing. And so had I stayed that way, I probably would not have read it well. I probably would have had a reaction to it. I probably would have heard and projected what I thought they were communicating instead of what they were actually communicating. And AI was a fantastic way for me to do a first line of defense to process it. And so I took this very, very long email and I put it in ChatGPT and I gave it context. Again, unless I just throw it in, I gave it context. I gave the context of what I do and where this came from and what the video was that it was inspired from and the position, and it had the transcript. I gave it the transcript of the video so that it would know, like, hey, what things in here might they be reacting to? You know, what things, whatever. And so honestly, if you think like, oh, AI just shortcutted it, it didn't. Believe me, the time it took to actually do it and think through, okay, here's what context it might need. Here are the elements that it might need. Here are the emotions I'm experiencing right now. And then I put the response in and I said, please help me make sense of this. Because I want to read it and I want to listen to it, but I don't want my emotions to color or cloud my ability to actually understand what this individual said, because I respect the fact, and this is the part that AI can't do. I, by default, said, I respect this individual as another human being, and I care about them because they're deserving of respect and dignity. And if they took the time to write this, the least I can do is take the time to listen. Now, can AI fix that for you? No. If you truly don't care about people, I don't know what to tell you other than change your mind, because that other person is deserving of respect and dignity. But so I took the time to build all this together and then I posted through, and I'm so glad I did, because its first line was, I don't think this individual in any way, shape, or form is attacking you, which immediately brought my defenses down, because I shared with it. This is one of the things I'm struggling with. Like, I don't want to read this as an attack if it's not an attack. If it is, tell me. But if it's not, help me understand it. And it did. It broke it down. And it acknowledged some of the realities of, yeah, it's a little all over and it's a lot and there's a whole lot here, but let me help you contextualize what it is. And it did. It did a really good job of breaking it down. And of course, in true AI form, it just gave me a little, here's a convenient message you could send back and call it a day. Could I, at that point, have said, thanks, copy, paste, send? I could have. And honestly, in today's world, I think even that amount of effort is probably a lot more than most people experience. And so even just what I described there, if you don't have 5 minutes, and I'm saying 5 minutes, I probably could have done nothing but take the context of what they sent me, put it in, and got a, can you please help me respond in a way that's true to my voice? And got a little thing. That would have taken me literally almost no time at all. We don't even do that. And I feel like that in and of itself might have meant something. Now, granted, like I said, I took the time to do all this other stuff, give it context, bring these other things into play, try and really help articulate and formalize it. But even that simple thing is probably more than most people do. And that's one way that you could do it. But so it did. So it gave me this nice little convenient response. And I went, well, that's not what I want. That's not what I want. So I worked with it. I said, can you help me break this down? And then I read it, because at this point, my defenses were down. And so at this point, I actually was able to read it and actually read through it, because it had given me some things that were trying to be communicated. And so I was able to look for those things. And I was able to see, okay, like now this isn't a personal attack on Christopher. This is someone sharing their reaction, their response to something I created. Okay, I'm no longer in the picture here. And now this helped me do that. And I was able to read the whole thing through it, which actually then gave me additional questions that I was able to ask, to engage with, and things I wanted to clarify. And I said, part of what I want to do is I actually want to reach back out to this individual and say, here's what I think I heard. But instead of me just assume, is this correct? Is this actually what you're trying to communicate? Are these the things you're actually struggling with? I don't want to make assumptions here. But AI helped me structure that, helped me pull that together in a way that would have been much more difficult for me to, given the length of this thing. And so I was then able to engage with that, and then also be able to say, now I want to be able to write a note that incorporates some of these clarification points, mirrors back some of the things I've heard, I want to make sure I acknowledge some of this stuff. These are things that are important to me. Can you help me create a first draft? And it did. And some might go, oh, so you had AI write your first draft? Yeah, I did. Because it helped me do the clickety work of, my prompt was honestly probably longer than the draft it sent me. Because there were things I'm like, I want to make sure this is communicated clearly. I want to make sure I address this. I want to make sure I'm sharing this response. These are some of the reflections that I'm having processed what this individual sent to me. I want to make sure that's threaded in and incorporated into this. This wasn't craft email in response to this. This was a deep and thoughtful process to go through it. And it did. And it came up with a decent email. It wasn't the email I would ever send, but it was an email that was decent. And then I worked with it and I went, nah, like, can we revise this? Rather than me rewrite the whole thing going, nah, that wasn't quite how I wanted to frame it. I gave it feedback. I said, nah, I actually want to make it more like this. And I want to emphasize this point. And I want to bring this to the forefront. And I want to do this. And then, believe it or not, I asked AI what it thought to give me feedback. Here's how I'm thinking about it. What do you think? And I asked it, how might this be received? What things might be triggering? What might, based on what you saw in this thing, might actually set this person off or be interpreted the wrong way? Not set them off. I don't want to be offended, but like might be misinterpreted. And it gave me feedback, not just to incorporate. I asked for the feedback so I could process it. So I could go, yeah, is that legitimate? Maybe, but not acknowledging that would not be authentic to who I am or how I would think about it. Because of course, AI is designed to mitigate risk. So it's going to do its best to try and strip out any risk from things. And so there are times you have to make critical decisions and go, yeah, I mean, I could take that out, but then it would kind of like ruin the whole point of it. And so I got it to a reasonable draft. And then I worked with it. And I went, like, let me edit, let me copy. No, I wouldn't say that. I would structure it more this way. But it got it to the essence of what I wanted to say. And it helped me through that whole process in a way that pulled the emotions out of it and not in a way that made it robotic and static. And I think if you were to ask this individual, they would say, no, that was actually Christopher responding to me. This was not a carbon copy pasted email from AI, because it wasn't. It was actually my heart coming through in this. And so I sent it. And then so that I didn't end up going, oh my God, because you start thinking like, well, whatever. I asked AI. So based on the response, I shared with it, here's my final draft. I just sent this. Help frame up for me what things I might be able to expect in response. And it did. It said, well, it might be this, might be this. If you don't hear back, don't take as an offense to that. You really, truly were as authentic as you could be. And sometimes people just aren't ready to respond to that. Like I was like, okay. It really broke things down. And I was like, okay, perfect. And sure enough, I've been engaging back and forth with this individual, and AI has been helping me process some of those things because we have very different communication styles. And so there are ways, and I'll wrap here, but there are ways that you can use AI to make you more human, to simplify the messiness and clean up the messiness of human experience so that you can put your time and attention on the really human things that matter. And I wanted to walk through that because I see so many people using AI, but not necessarily using it in a way that is enriching their experience and enriching the experience of the people around them. So this is just one use case. If you found it helpful, great. If you just skipped it and said, yeah, I don't really care, well, that's on you too. But I think this is one way that you can actually really, truly use AI for the better and actually help you think deeper and be more human than just pumping out more crap. Okay, so with that, I'm going to wrap for this week. I hope you found this helpful. I know there's a lot going on, and I will continue. I've already got some things I want to cover for next week. I just need to do a little more research into them before I do, but I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week. Great weekend whenever you watch or listen to this, and we will see you on the other side.